We're gonna move on.
But hey, they're gonna go to the playoffs. So.
Yeah, apparently. Well, they have to, or else Rex is gone. But we're gonna move on to the Chicago Bears now, and Mark's favorite team, because Mark, I'm gonna be honest with you. You guys drafted Jordan Howard in the draft. Not gonna be a starter for you guys, but you get a running back. I'm gonna just be frank with it. Is Jeremy Langford ready to take over for Matt Forte in Chicago?
Well, here's the thing. So, is he ready to take over? Sure. He's ready to take over.
But
he's ready to be the starter.
The guy.
Is he ready to be Matt Forte? No, because Matt Forte's been in the top 3 running backs consistently since he got to the NFL. He has been absolutely incredible, not only as a running back running the ball, but as a running back catching the ball. He has been fantastic. Now, he's not always the best red zone back. Mm-hmm. But that's not his style. That's not what we wanted him to do.
Do you need that? Do you need him to be a red zone back?
Not when you have extremely tall wide receivers like the Chicago Bears have, and Martellus Bennett's not good, but we still have a tall tight end.
We don't have Bennett anymore.
Zach Miller's still tall, but you don't really need that so much. Matt Forte is obviously we're going to have to take Walter Payton aside. Mm-hmm. Matt Forte is probably going to be your next best running back in Chicago Bears history. Langford's not going to be the third best. So you're saying it goes
Sweetness and then Forte.
I would go ahead and say that. Okay. Not necessarily as a pure running back, as what Matt Forte was able to do. Because for years,
How valuable he was to the team.
Yes. Yeah. For years, Matt Forte was the number 1 wide receiver.
And I would say he was almost the most popular Bear during his time. Maybe not when, maybe when him and Marshall were on the team at the same time, there was a little bit of, I felt like the consensus among Bear fans that I knew was that, if we're talking more popular, it was Brandon Marshall, because he was the guy, he was the charismatic figure out there. But once Marshall left, who was the guy everybody loved? Matt Forte.
Oh, yeah. And Matt Forte was such a huge part of the team before that, too. Just to give an example of, this is his best year, but of what Matt Forte brought to the Chicago Bears, over 1,000 running yards and over 800 receiving yards in 2014. And the guy's incredible. He is such a great addition. He is the safety blanket. And that's gone now. Of course, Jeremy Langford, only 1 season, just over 500 yards, but there wasn't that much asked of him, especially early on. There really wasn't much of anything asked for him until we played your favorite team, Minnesota Vikings, in November. Mm-hmm. And definitely good on the ground, not amazing. I mean, his highest game, he was getting around 70 yards a couple times, an 80-yard game as well. But he had a 109 receiving yard game, a 70-yard receiving game, and he showed flashes of what Matt Forte is. So in a way, he's kind of Matt Forte light. He's kind of the poor man's Matt Forte. Mm-hmm. I think he's ready to step up and be that. I think he's going to probably need a little bit more support. But we have that support in a way that we didn't with Matt Forte. Well, Matt Forte never had wide receivers that were good.
And the
Chicago Bears do. Well, he had Brandon Marshall for 1 year. That was his best year.
Yeah, but consistently, that's the thing I was going to get into is you said the support. And the one thing that I always think of is Bear fans that I talk to they're always like, oh, well, we basically got 2 first-round picks because Kevin White's coming back this year. And I've seen it in the comment sections whenever Mike Rankin from Behind the Pen here, or whenever we talk Bears, we have a contingency of the MVP army that bears down every weekend. And the kind of consensus is that Kevin White is going to be able to come in and give you the same kind of greatness that when you had Alshon and Brandon. The thing that I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to maybe bring it back to a realistic kind of attitude, is Kevin White going to be as good as everyone's hyping him up to be? I'm not saying necessarily that he's going to be bad, but is it going to be we are putting him on a pedestal to where if he doesn't even obtain those goals, don't worry about helping out Langford, but do fans go, oh, fuck, what did we just do?
Well, I think Kevin White's expectations are very high because he had the year off. Obviously, he had the injury that took him for an entire
Supply
year to
and
heal.
demand almost.
So he definitely has more expected of him. But he's got Alshon Jeffrey, who's going to command the double teams. Mm-hmm. Langford's definitely going to help him out. Miller showed off that he can be a very solid and reliable tight end when he's healthy and he's on the field. So with everything going well, everything going the way it's supposed to be, and of course don't forget about Eddie Royal as well. This team...
Well, Eddie Royal's got to stay healthy.
Well, yeah, so does Alshon Jeffrey and Zach Miller. There's a lot of this team needs to stay healthy out there. But you have, with everything going well, you have everything in place to where people can underperform a little bit, and that will be hidden by the rest of the talent on the offense. So, Langford doesn't have to be amazing, and Kevin White doesn't have to be amazing. And it should still work out because the other players on the team are going to make those guys look better. When you get a lot of stars out there, you get a lot of guys who are supposed to be good, it makes everybody perform a little bit better and look a little better. So if that's what's happening here, it doesn't matter if Kevin White's not that great. It doesn't matter if Langford's not living up to that potential because right now we don't need them to because they got the supporting cast.
Well, in Langford's defense, you don't need him to be Matt Forte. You don't need him to step in and be exactly what Matt Forte was to you. You just need him to be serviceable. And you just need him to get the yards that he's going to get, catch the ball out of the backfield, let the team just work. It's not like you're running a Gary Kubiak offense where the running back is a big key.
Well, the running back is going to be a big key to this offense, too.
Yeah, but I mean, with John Fox, I feel like, look at his Denver days. I mean, yeah, with C.J. Anderson and the running backs there, Hillman, used, yeah, but it was more of who did we focus on? Peyton Manning.
But part of that, of course, is because
Peyton Manning. Demaryius Thomas helps, too, out there, and all the receivers that they had, but we focused on that passing game. This last year with Kubiak in Denver, we focused more on the running back. Now, that could be the deterioration of Peyton Manning, and whenever we focused on the quarterback, we were focusing on Brock the Cock just being in the game. But I feel like with the Bears, and this has kind of turned into a kind of mini-season preview, but not really because you're going to go way into depth in our second week of June, I believe, is the NFC North previews for us this year. But I feel like for the Bears, this is going to be a big year where it's going to be this year is going to set up whether or not next year's the Super Bowl year. Because I know, like you said, second year of John Fox teams usually do really well. You're probably not going to don't get Super Bowl Super Bears like Bill Schwartzky has said on this YouTube channel, but this is going to be the season where the Bears can say you do well enough and you make the wild card like I think you're going to, then it could be this Super Bowl thing is very obtainable next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is going to be kind of tryout for some of these players because some of these guys are still rotating and we are still improving through the draft, of course. I really think right now, Langford, like you're saying, doesn't have to be that service. I mean, he has to be serviceable. He doesn't have to be amazing. But the same's going to apply to Alshon Jeffrey. The same's going to apply to Kevin White. Same's going to apply to Zach Miller. People just have to be healthy. And if you follow what John Fox and what Vic Fangio want, they want to have a great defense that's going to, basically what the Chicago Bears were. They're not going to let your offense be on the field very much. And then the Chicago Bears offense is just going to control clock. They're going to game manage. They're going to work their way up, and they're going to score enough points. They're not going to blow you off the off the scoreboard. This isn't John Fox's days of Peyton Manning. They're just going to do enough, and they're going to win. That's the recipe for success. It's the same thing that your Minnesota Vikings are doing. It's the same thing that that the Denver Broncos did last year. This is nothing new. This is nothing out of the ordinary. It's just a very controlled kind of football, and that's what they want. That's why you don't really need people to be absolute stars. And John Fox, besides Peyton Manning, hasn't been known for having the biggest star out there. He's really more known for just having a great team that he assembled.
I'm going to wrap this up by asking you one question.
Super Bowl, yes.
No, not Super Bowl. It has to do with, I'm going to use my prediction for the Bears as kind of the set stone for this hypothetical.
All right.
Let's say the Bears do make it to the wild card.
16-0.
But they lose. They lose in the first game, kind of like my Vikings. So that means depending on the other teams, you're thinking a 21 through 24 pick range. So either 21, 22, 23, or 24. If Jeremy Langford, I'm putting an S in there. If Langford doesn't perform well, and let's say it's like almost abysmal bad, where it's like, whoa, I'm glad we got to the wild card despite our running back play. Would you be a lobbyist for the Bears? Leonard Fournette wouldn't be in the question. You'd have to be a top 5 pick for that, which I don't think the Bears would be.
Unless he royally fucks up this year.
But would you be a lobbyist for the Bears to go with a Nick Chubb or a Dalvin Cook with that pick in the first round if Jeremy Langford doesn's do well?
Well, in this scenario where the Chicago Bears have gone 16-0 and losing the wild card, which is pretty impressive for a team to be undefeated and be in the wild card.
The Packers also went 16-0.
They must have.
Yeah, they did.
And some other team probably has also gone 16-0 in this scenario too.
There's got to be somebody that's like, wait a second, they play each other twice.
The comment has already been posted. So, and in this scenario, the Lions have probably gone 0-16, let's be honest.
Well, no, 0-20.
Yeah. So
because they lost the preseason.
That's true. All 4 games. All 4 games in the preseason they lost to, and the NFL made a special exception just to count those 2.
Yep.
Because they want the Lions to feel good about breaking some record this year.
Breaking their own
record, yeah, of 0-16. So, in this scenario, first of all, I don't want a guy whose last name is Chubb on my team, especially as a running back. I'm not into that.
Nick Chubb, man.
I just don't want that to be the scenario. But in all seriousness,
Mark could have went with his injury that he's coming back from this season.
No,
he went with his last name being Chubb.
I don't know if I would say running back is where I want to go. There are still needs on the defensive side of the ball that should be addressed, especially if you're not going to get the number 1 running back in the first round. I don't probably want the number 2.
What if I throw this at you? Here's the situation. Bears have a shit season. Jay Cutler was injured. Langford couldn't do shit. And the team is just bad. Here's your draft order. Browns at number 1. They take Deshaun Watson because the Eagles were 0-16.
Of course.
They take Deshaun Watson.
A lot of teams going 0-16 this year.
The Giants are the second pick. They did the second worst. They take Myles Garrett, the defensive end out of Texas A&M. Bears are at the 3rd pick. Do they take Leonard Fournette? If it is one of those seasons where you're the 3rd pick, Jay Cutler was injured this year, Langford didn't perform and was one of the worst backs in the NFL, at that point, do you go, boom, let's fucking take Fournette?
Assuming that Jay Cutler is going to come back?
Yes, he comes back. It's not career ending.
And also, well, I think part of it's going to depend too on David Fales. Did he look serviceable? Did he look okay? Are we still assuming that we're grooming him into the quarterback of the future? Or are we kind of assuming that experiment is done? Because that experiment is done, I think it's tough to not say maybe we should draft a quarterback.
Your second best quarterback could either be Chad Kelly or Brad Kaya, how they do this season.
Yeah, and a lot of it, of course, is going to be that. So the prediction game, it's tough to play. So what we're at right now, you probably do have to go running back.
So you take Fournette. If you are the 3rd pick, you take Fournette and say, sorry, Langford, you're now the second in command.
Yeah, because you did well when you were second. You did well coming in off the bench and helping us out. So just go back to what you did well.
And with that hypothetical, I don't know if I just pissed off our Bear fans or made them cream their pants. I don't know what I did, because you're mad because you got the 3rd pick, but you're probably very excited that we're talking about you getting Fournette.
In that scenario, too, though, you do run into the danger. The big debate is, obviously, you're going to have one of the best defensive players available to you. If Jay Cutler just got hurt and he's at the end of his career because Jay Cutler's old, it's very hard to ignore the need of a quarterback. And it's not often that you are in a situation where you essentially have the pick of the litter.
Yeah.
One guy's gone already, but you had the pick of the litter.
If the Cleveland Browns are the first pick, whether because they suck or the Eagles suck this year, they're going to go Deshaun Watson because there is no way, unless he gets injured, Deshaun Watson is going to be the number 1 pick next season. That's just how it goes. Look at Jared Goff. Nobody thought Jared Goff would go number 1. He's number 1. Deshaun Watson comes out this year. Guess what? Jared Goff's not your number 1 pick. Deshaun Watson's your number 1 pick, but he couldn't come out. That was just some hypotheticals I wanted to throw out there. Before we move on to Rookie of the Year, I'll ask you, because you're the Bears fan, kind of projection for Langford. How is he going to do in his first season as the guy without Matt Forte?
I don't expect it to be amazing. I expect him to... be in like an 800 range yards, so it's definitely good. You're definitely happy with your running back being in the 800s, especially because he's also going to help out in the passing game. So he's definitely going to get a lot of receptions as well. But I don't know that the running game is going to be the absolute central focus. Now that you got Kevin White and now that you got Alshon Jeffrey, I think the Chicago Bears are going to want to utilize those weapons a little bit more, be a little bit more pass happy than they were last year because there were 0 options last year. So I definitely think that there's going to be less pressure off of Langford. I think he's going to do a good job. He's going to be a little less than Matt Forte, but we're all going to be pretty happy about it.